often. I think I can do that. There you go, this is what just came on. But even that is kind of fast. This might just be that general ambient space noise type stuff that they play. I think I'm gonna jump in and see where I left off with this warship that was chasing me down. This should be pretty entertaining. It's a lot of energy in my household, so don't mind that. I may have to keep the camera off just for privacy reasons for now. Hopefully by the time I start Fire Emblem things have winded down a little bit more, but that's not a guarantee. So yeah, here we go. There's the big, look, there's a giant black hole there, and we have this big warship shooting at us right from the get-go. It's a little too far away for me to hit. I should really just focus on hiding behind an asteroid for a moment while it gets a little bit closer. That black hole will suck either of us in, and if I was cunning enough, I could navigate around it and probably lure the ship into it. But I'm really just gonna try to fight this big cruiser. happened there was I had to take out the different parts of the ship, and eventually that did enough overall damage that it just destroyed the whole ship. I wasn't expecting it to go that quickly, honestly. That was actually a little faster than I expected. I thought I was going to have to do a bit more damage than that, but I'm kind of relieved because I did use up quite a few of my reserves there. I want to try to collect some of this other stuff that's really important. That Viridian energy. It doesn't seem like I can carry anymore, but that's really important. Shock Rifle Pro, that's a pretty good weapon. I will take that over the Gatling gun. And right now I'm just salvaging the different pieces of equipment that are on the map. A lot of what I have is actually right on par or exactly the same. Still have to watch out for that black hole that will suck me in despite all this stuff being, you know, a little close but not too close. See that singularity warning? As soon as you start to hear that sound, you know you're doing it wrong, and you have to figure out which way is the right way to go, because normally there's no right or wrong way to fly in this map unless you have things like a black hole or a solar storm is one of the only other instances. And sometimes you have to find a little satellite before you can move on to the next map. That can be a pain too. Alright, so here we go. Sector 6. Moving on towards the end. I don't know if... I always forget if Sector 7 has a bunch of spots that you have to get through, or Sector 7. Reaching Sector 7 ends up being the end, technically. It might be, but I forget. We'll find out shortly, though. I don't intend on giving up. I have a lot of good weapons. This shouldn't be hard to make it pretty far. I have a decent amount of materials. I'll try to get more as I'm going along. Like, as soon as I took out one set of guys, there's a second set to shoot at me. I can't believe that. I'm really getting chewed up right now, more than I expected. I'll use up some of these light missiles at my disposal. It's worth, you know, using a few extra missiles and getting blown up when you made it this far. There we go. Don't have to find too many nanobots. That should do it right there. Do want to let my shield recharge for a moment. Already more enemies on the map. Oh man, you gotta be, can't be serious. So this is a smaller battleship than the one that I previously fought. Or was fighting. The main thing I'm trying to do right now is just kind of flank it and get in between it. Everything at my disposal, but it was well worth it. These energy injectors are your best friends towards the end of the game. and you don't get to make those unless you've diligently taken the time to collect a bunch of other materials throughout your way here. Alright, there's a lot of stuff flying around. The nanobots I definitely need. The gas and some of this other stuff really comes in handy. A lot of these materials for crafting do end up being really important, and the more that you take your time to patiently collect, the easier it's going to be to make missiles and stuff like I just was, and even in the middle of a fight. This is awesome. This is the equivalent of finding a treasure chest in any given game. Your equipment does not start off this amazing by any means. A lot of this is upgraded along your way. So this game is interesting because even though it has a skill tree and everything that you upgrade long term, it is possible to beat the game quickly if you're talented enough without having to go through the process of upgrading everything in that skill tree. Processors are worth your time. I'll go fly over to get those. I'm disappointed that even in that small scuffle there, I lost a decent amount of nanobots. After I get these processors, oh, a second freighter wreck, a bunch of landmines, so I'll have to be careful, but it should be worth it. And the game does hurry you along. You can't stay in one map too long before those reinforcements start to show up, and once they start to show up, they don't stop. So even if you defeat the first wave, an even stronger second wave ends up showing up. It ends up being one of those effects where it's a real test your might kind of thrill if you really feel like enduring it. In the beginning of the game, that's just about your only choice though. Ooh, it's another Corvette. Oh man. Excuse me. That's another one of these. That was cutting it close. I got very lucky. The battle for this map is not over yet by any means. That was just the beginning of it. And the goodies may or may not even be worth it. I could have just called a lot of attention to myself. Not a lot of fuel. That's disappointing. I'm surprised I can't even collect any more of this verdine energy. Shield recharging, that's good. Not even a hint of nanobots. That's not good. Alright, these are usually a gold mine for treasure and stuff like nanobots, but also at the same time they can be a death trap, especially if I end up taking too long. And they're getting increasingly more trapped with gun turrets like that.
Down one.
I think the drops from destroying the gun turret there were more useful than whatever was in the treasure chest. Was there a second red door? Yeah, let's do that if there's already one there. Sometimes it's right in front, but typically the machine gun turrets are on the other side. Oh, it's a lot of cool stuff, but it's not anything that I was hoping for. That's really good. That's a big upgrade that I needed. A lot more energy allocation, but it's a much larger health. Yeah, you see the red on that little meter bump below the firing reticle just jumped up a lot. That little green meter goes down each time you shoot any weapon. Or boost. That's your overall energy allocation. You can see it going down, decreasing now as I'm flying through space. On the side that's red, that's energy that I have available, but I can't use it for anything because it's already allocated to this primary and secondary weapons. That's one of the things that's really great, but a really huge offset about the Neutron Cannon, is that even though it is really powerful, it uses up a ton of energy. Alright, I gotta focus on what I'm doing because soon there's gonna be enemies to shoot at. See, I knew it. I knew as I started going for something productive that the reinforcements would start showing up. So I'm just gonna put that on hold, go to the next map. I really wanted to try to find some nanobots before I went to another map. So this is the end of Sector 6. This will be one of those special gates where we just have to get to it, park inside of it for a few seconds, and it'll teleport us to wherever we have to go next. You can see there in bottom left the different bonuses I chose. A wormhole. Oh man. That's so tempting, especially this far in the late game. That's something I've always wanted to do with all this really good equipment, was to jump in one of those wormholes and really go to town. That's the equivalent of the zombies run from one of the older, I don't know if all the Call of Duty games do that or if it was just an older title, where they had almost like the way the reinforcements show up in this. It's just a never-ending battle of units that are stronger and stronger. I would have to, there's a drone carrier out there. There's a wormhole somewhere that I would have to fly to. I don't think they close. I think if they're there, they're there. You just have to locate it and fly into it. Well, here's some crystal in this asteroid probably. Let's get this. Maybe even some nanobots if I'm lucky. Oh, that could be really useful. I don't use enough drones. They cost a lot of resources to build, and they're not entirely disposable. They do pull some of their own weight. I thought for sure I was going to find some crystals on here. Probably just on the other side somewhere. Here we go. That crystal, I always forget why, but I just remember that it really comes in handy in the linking. Here's some power cells nearby. Those are worth picking up. Anything else? Another crystal on that side. Somebody started shooting at me. Down already. At least he dropped some nanobots. Almost started to do damage. That's one of those times that you could see that adaptive shielding that I found, that upgrade, definitely played a difference. My shield did not go down nearly as fast as it could have. Alright, I'm not going to worry about fighting the Marauder or collecting more materials. I'll just go into Jump Gate and see where it goes next. This should be a little exciting. This is the end of Sector 6. I always forget if 7 is the end or if there's a whole nother end to it. That's right, it is. There you go.
We
just
made
like
it.
that.
Now it's just a short jump to freedom.
I should have went in a wormhole, but there's no going back and redoing that. But there you have it. The end of Everspace. It was nice to do that on camera. It was nice to get into a couple of those big camera battleship fights. The only thrilling thing left to do, like I said before, is to really go into one of those wormholes while I have all these really cool weapons, because this Neutron Cannon, this takes a lot of that dark energy and stuff to make, but it's awesome. Has the lamest sound in the world for as cool as it is, but if you're too close to the spot that you shoot it at, it will make a big explosion and make you fly like crazy. So even that, I had a little bit of the impact. See, if you do it like point blank, it ends up really messing your day up. Yep, everything's obliterated. That was a fun day when that chapter came to an end. Oh, the credits, they show it each time you do that, that's right. And this is one of those games where I'll periodically revisit it on a regular basis. This by no means will be the actual end of me playing the game. This is at least my second or third time sitting through the credits list. It's been a lot of fun to sit and play through this game. I've heard rumors that there might be a second one in development. I'm hoping that if they do a second one, that because of the uniqueness of the storyline to this one, that they really choose to build upon that in some way. Maybe we get to hear more about where your main character actually makes it to, what he chooses to do with himself after all of the choices that he's been faced with up until the end of this game. And the ending is one of those of a real standing up for yourself kind of rebellion, where just the bad guy is larger than life, and even though you have the entire universe holding a lethal weapon at you, that you don't let it get to you, and you say, I'm not going to take it anymore, and you end up going through a very clever, unique battle in order to win your freedom. I'm hoping that once in a follow-up that we get to see what you've chosen to do with that freedom that you've been awarded, that you've earned. You know, what sector of space do you end up at next? What else is there to do out there? How do you get over events like that? But it seems like there's many other twists and turns they could have. Overall, the main thing that I think a lot of other fans would hope for as well is that the game engine is the same. Like, please don't move too many of the button configurations around. The way that they had 4 different spots for selectable weapons and consumables, I feel like really worked out. It took me a little bit of getting used to. I didn't realize that I could just hold the buttons down instead of cycling through the weapons. I would constantly sit there and press left or down 3-4 times to get to the consumable I wanted. But I found out there's better ways to do it. The first way I found was hitting the minus button on the controller or switch, and that takes you to the menu where you can craft everything. And that was a nice way to kind of get a brief break from the battle, regroup, figure out what I'm doing, use a couple items sometimes, or at least equip the item that I want to use next when I'm in a pinch, instead of trying to coordinate flying with pressing those buttons to cycle through the items. I was wondering if the robot that gives out the bounties actually has a point at which you've completed all of his missions. There's only a handful of side characters that you actually get to interact with throughout the game, but the majority of them have a point at which you've completed all their tasks. There's a guy collecting scrap and materials. There's a guy collecting biological samples, and eventually you come across a robot who's altered his programming, and he's become addicted to MMOs, basically. And instead of hunting down his bounties, he wants to just fly around space and park and play his MMOs. And once you meet him, he's like, oh yeah, maybe you can help me out. Here's my contracts. Just go and take these people out, and I'll even pay you for it. And he does. Robot pays you good money to do his job for him. It's pretty funny. So here we go, just about the end of the credits, I believe, and that is not a screen that you get to see often. Up until this point, it's basically nothing but you lose. You literally get to see you lose just like this over and over again, and that number to the right hand side of the screen is the official death counter that's built into the game. And so up until this point, even though I've won maybe 2 or 3 times, it just goes to show that I've also died 137 times, and even the overall duration, even though I turn the game on and off, I save and quit and come back to it, it took me a total of 127 minutes to get this far. So that's quite a bit of time, you know, a few minutes on each map here and there, and before you know it, you've played for a couple hours. Then aside from that, you have the number of kills for just this run. That's not cumulative like the death counter. I think that's the only thing that's